Hey there. I think the reading is going to be where can you be more sovereign? Like, where in your life can you be more sovereign? Like, where are you looking outside of yourself where you could be looking in? Unless other messages come through, and then I'll label the reading accordingly when I upload it. So I'm just going to choose the picks from these popsicle sticks. I've started to make a oracle out of the popsicle sticks that my mother gave me. She actually tried to give them to one of my sons to make a birdhouse. She had this whole Pinterest ad saved on her phone to show him. Delivered him hundreds and hundreds of popsicle sticks that were literally popsicles that she ate over years' time and saved. And some glue. Yes, also some glue. And my son rejected the idea. My son was like, nah, thanks anyways, Graham. And so I took them off her hands. And I'm not going to make a birdhouse. But I thought I might make an oracle. So I have like the starts of the craft here that I started to like conceptualize how I would do it and things like that, because I want to break it down in certain categories or whatnot. But I've started with just a few. So here's what they are. So pick 1 is going to be change. Pick 2 is going to be balance. And pick 3 is going to be pressure. So behind the first pick, there was 2 sticks that came out when I grabbed, and it says growth. So pick 1. We're starting with you. Change and growth. Change is what you chose, so we're just going to count that. But I wanted to add in growth because it's part of your message. The first thing that's coming to mind is like, are you giving yourself enough credit for having grown? Can you look back and see how far you've come and sort of celebrate that for yourself? Even the smallest thing can be celebrated when it comes to our growth. Just digging in my oracle bucket right now. Kind of giving it a good shuffle. There's a song in my head, I think it's by George Ezra. It's like, giving it up, giving it up, giving it up for me. For you. Giving it up, giving it up. Okay. We got learn new and friends only. Still pulling cards, so. Compensation. You know, that's interesting because the word compensation came out in the review of the Hermetic Principles that I did the other day. And I cannot remember where compensation was used in that. But I remember it coming up because I knew I have oracles that say that word. Compensation. Did you invest in something, a friendship maybe, where you're looking to get something back out of it, where you don't think it was equal. Let's see. It may not be that, so let's just keep pulling some cards. Inhibited self-expression, acting out for validation. This feels like it's going to be two cards stuck together. Is it? That song is still coming up too. Giving it up, giving it up. Avoiding spiritual. Okay. Acting out. Acting out for validation makes me feel like that. So humans, when we have some sort of unmet need, we will create the situation in which that need can be met. So there's something here where you have an unmet need. You're not able to just come out and say it, ask for what you need. Avoiding spiritual. I don't even remember what I meant when I made that card, to be honest. You can tell that I'm in a different timeline now, because I don't know. I have no idea, but that's all right. We'll get clarification. I'm just pulling out a different deck. Oh, it's already 1 o'clock. All right, that's cool. I'm working on some memes. A couple meme ideas came to me. So sometimes what will happen is a concept that I want to just like put onto a meme will come to my mind, and I'll make a note of it for myself. So I have time set aside in my schedule to make some of those, so you might want to catch them on Instagram. A force field. An energy barrier that stops everything from getting in or out. Hope that doesn't include air. See, it's something you need. Something you need is not being allowed in or out because there is a block. And this is kind of showing up in your reality right now, where something doesn't make sense, and it's because there's some sort of like something else that you're not considering that you are being pushed to allow or learn. Let me see what else. Why is avoiding spiritual being here? Cap's shield. Made from the meteoric metal vibranium, it absorbs kinetic energy and has blocked blows from Thor's hammer and the Hulk. So this shield is very fucking powerful. Oh. It's other people's point of view. It's other people's point of view. You have people around you. Now, okay, so I've been doing readings, and one of the things I've said in a few of the readings recently is that sometimes we grow apart from people, right? And you may have people around you where you think you've grown apart from them because you don't see things the way that they do, and you're just not on the same page. But this is a case where it's not that you've outgrown those people or they've outgrown you. Maybe some of them, but not all of them. Some of them are actually having a point of view that would help you if you were to consider it. Yes. You feel like you're not getting anything out of the relationship anymore. And it's because you haven't been able to lower this barrier that you've put up to protect yourself, I'm sure, and it's a very, very strong one, but you're starving out something that you need. And I want to tend to say it's the spiritual side of things. You know, if you're living life from a very 3D manner, then it'd be very unlikely that you'd be at one of these readings. So I'm not going to say that you're starving it out completely unless you're at this reading for some other reason, right? We'll allow for that. That's fine. If you wanted to observe because you wanted to hate on it or, you know, whatever, then God played a little trick on you. Sorry about that. But for the most part, I think it's just like another awareness that you haven't allowed for yourself. And maybe you even feel averted to it when somebody else talks about it, or you don't even know that someone else has the view. Right? It would be like if I had a bunch of friends and they were all into like some certain religion, and I just said, well, I'm not like them. Instead of taking into consideration that they might have an interesting point of view that I'd like to know about. And that maybe I wouldn't adopt it for myself, but it might inspire me to something else, you know? So the act of connection would be the thing that would bridge that and allow that to happen. So this barrier is a block to connection. And the connection just means that, like, I want to understand you and I will open myself and allow that, you know? And when we understand someone else's point of view, it means that we're going to have to suspend our own point of view to put ourselves in their shoes as much as we possibly can. And our ego that doesn't feel validated will not allow us to do that. So what this is saying is you have a part of your ego that has not been validated yet by you and is so defensive that it won't even allow you to suspend your view long enough to see another point of view. So that defense mechanism, you have a defense mechanism that is going on. And I think it's also inhibiting your self-expression because maybe it's like you don't even want to let it slip so that you end up in a challenging conversation where your view is being challenged. You don't want your view to be challenged. So maybe you just stay pinned up about it. Maybe what you're doing, what you're acting out is actually validating your point of view. Like, oh, I don't get along with these people. But it's actually because you're turning your nose up at them or rolling your eyes at everything that they do and kind of minimizing their life experience compared to yours. You know, that could be, if you believe that their point of view isn't worth your consideration, and then you're acting like that, then their reactions to that may be validating your point of view when it's actually they're responding to your way, your energy. Like your energy says, I know better than you, and I don't care about what you think. I don't care about your view. It's not valid. When actually every single person's view is valid for them, you know? And so if you're a friend of somebody, then it makes sense to try to understand where they're coming from. But if you've been traumatized at some point earlier on and developed a defense mechanism, that can get in your way of relating to other people, right? And your connections, and you know your friendships suffer. Maybe you often have to move on to different people, or you keep things very shallow. You're not able to get in deep with somebody and have really, you know, intimate, meaningful conversations where energy moves and people are inspired and awarenesses get bigger. You know, these are all the beautiful parts of life that you might not be able to experience based on the protective barrier that your ego is being with the defense mechanism. So I feel like it's other people's point of view that you are not allowing for yourself. So how would you handle that, right? Like, how would you even want to care about their point of view when everything inside you says, well, why should I care? Okay, there's a part of you that is treating them like you don't care about their point of view. So let's think back into your life. Now, it doesn't have to be this. I'm going to try to go at this from a few different angles, but here's the first one. Is there somebody in your life, when you were younger, a child perhaps, who didn't care about your point of view? Is there somebody who treated you like your point of view did not matter to them? Was it a parent, maybe? Were you living under that old saying of children should be seen and not heard? And did it really affect you? Did you know that you had a bigger awareness than some of the people that you were in authority over you? And did you have to suffer the effects of somebody else's stupidity when you knew better? Did that affect you? Did you develop defense mechanisms based on the fact that somebody did not care about your view? Okay. So if that's the case, you know why you have this, right? Like, let's validate why you would have developed that. You would have said, well, if you're not going to care about my point of view, I'm not going to care about your point of view. But what didn't happen is you didn't actually be with the feeling that was associated with them not caring about your point of view. And that feeling would have been very painful because it would have meant that you were excluded, shunned, made fun of in some extreme cases, or dismissed, ignored, devalued, not important, that you weren't worthy of being considered, all kinds of things, right? So what kinds of feelings were those? Like sadness, fear of being left out, left behind. Sadness and fear are the main ones that I can think of. What else would you feel if you're shunned? You can really feel sad if you don't think your worth is there, right? So there are probably varying degrees on where that could have gone. Let's think of another scenario, how this could have been put into place, why you wouldn't value other people's point of view. Maybe at some point you did value somebody else's point of view above your own. Maybe you did trust somebody else had the bigger picture view and knew the way for you. And then you got burned, or they burned you themselves. Can you think of a situation where that happened? And you want to do the same thing. How did that feel? Feeling betrayed, feeling let down, feeling disappointed, feeling humiliated, stupid, feeling like, especially if it was God, right? Sometimes God will let us into these situations where we thought that we would be protected from that situation, but really God had something for us to experience and learn from. And God had faith in us the whole time that we could handle it and come out the other side. But if we lost faith in God during that process, then we're still in process, right? We haven't come out the other side yet, and God is still holding space for us to do so. So that could be another way that this barrier got put up. Is there another way that's coming to mind? Let's see. So a barrier that was enacted because you didn't want to consider other people's point of view. In general, it could just be the need to validate your own point of view, the need to be a sovereign being. That if you were to not be able to get outside validation for your view because it's out there, it's weird, nobody else is really understanding or thinking that way, you would need to then validate your own view and know that you see this. It's valid to you. There is a reason that you see things this way. And what would it feel like to not have anyone else believe in you or want or care enough about you to see your point of view? Might feel lonely and sad and all those feelings again, right? So, and fear of being left out and left behind and abandonment and being shunned and all that. So being made light of or less important, right? So you really have to step up and value yourself and your own point of view. Once you have validated your point of view on whatever this is, and have been present with the feelings that would have been associated with others not validating your point of view, those two things will allow you to see another point of view. But that's not the most important thing about this message, right? The most important thing about this message is a reminder to you and a permission to you to be validating yourself. Because everyone has a different point of view. if you ever watched my video about, I showed how we are like seeing life through the point of, on a little fractal, right? And so some points in the fractal can see bigger amounts of information than others, right? So some are hidden in this little crevice of the fractal, and some are out here where they can see more. But from where you are on this fractal dictates what your perspective is. And since we are a unity, a community of humans working together, you know, we want everyone to have a perspective that is different than ours, because if we all just thought the same, then like that would be boring. You know, like this is a perpetuation of growth and learning. And you want to know what the one in the crevice sees, because they've got a really focused in, tuned in view of something. Not like your view. You might be taking in a lot more, and so maybe those details fall by the wayside for you. Maybe you never really noticed that there was a little like portal there. But this person notices it because that's all they can see. So wouldn't you want to know, you know, what that part of the fractal sees? You will get there by becoming more sovereign in yourself, meaning validating your own view. Once your own view is validated, then you allow the expanded awareness to realize that other people's point of view is valid too. Not only for them, but valuable for you. And if you have people around you that are willing to share their points of view or willing to understand yours, here's the basis of connection. And it's really, really important here on Earth. And the more people who do it, the more are inspired to do it. Now we're coming from times when there wasn't that, right? We've had experiences that made us think that that wasn't possible or that it wasn't worth trying. Because when our mothers couldn't connect to us, or when our fathers didn't care about our point of view, you know, or our friends kind of shunned us on the playground, when these things happened and we felt the pain, and then we didn't let ourselves process fully through the pain, or we had a misunderstanding about what that meant about us in our lives, we got stuck in that pained moment, and then we lived trying to avoid it, trying to avoid the pain again. And that consumed us, right? That coping mechanism or defense mechanism consumed us. So I forgot where this point started. Let's see if it comes back. I think ultimately I was just reiterating what I had already said, which is we get stuck in these little kind of defense mechanisms, woundings, loops of ways of being that cut us off and limit us from seeing a bigger picture view. And this is just you being initiated or reminded that there is a finishing up of that cycle that you can do now. And to fully take responsibility for yourself. Oh, and then you are an example of someone who does that. Not that you are like faking it, right? Because you might be a person that looks like, oh, you know, a tough exterior where people aren't going to bother, you know, trying to like poke you in that or go up against it or even try to get close to you. Really, they'll relate to you maybe on the level that you allow them, right? But like it's there's so much more to life if you can let yourself go into the depths. And this isn't to say that you're all wrong, that you've done everything wrong or anything. This is just this one little thing, right? So remember that this isn't trying to tear you down or saying you've been doing it all wrong. It's important that you know that you are honored for this process that you've been through, because when you come out the other side, you will be a person who is an example of coming out the other side, but you'll also be a person with a compassion for those who are stuck in the middle, who are stuck behind their own walls and defense mechanisms. And you might be the one who makes an effort to offer them a hand across the bridge. You know? Okay, pick one. That's your reading. We're going to move on to pick two. Two, you've got balance. I'm just going to put these cards away. I'll be right back. I picked two. You got 180 days and courageous. The song came into my head, but I don't really know the song. So let me just see if I can find it. I'm going to pause you while I look at what it is. Okay, so what was your word? Balance? 180 days, courageous. So we've got Fly Me Courageous by Drivin' and Cryin'. So I think this is an older song, but here's the lyrics. I've got you on the loose, I left you grooving. I've got you on the beat, I left you broken. But you won't take my place, since long ago I wandered way out on a cliff with brilliance of an angel. Yeah, I haven't listened to this song in a long time, so I don't know the beat, sorry. So fly me, courageous. Mother America is brandishing her weapons. She keeps me safe and warm by threats and misconceptions. So if you break the chains, you'll have to shake me. And if you break my heart, you'll have to take me. Whoa, lady, won't you take it easy? Push me out of. Heard your whispers from the bottom of the canyon. It's not so hard to hide the rattlesnake's confusion. Wrap me high in the sky, circle me with stallions. She flew from peak to peak with the freedom of an eagle. Okay. Won't you take it easy? Push me out. Okay. Has someone been pushing you to grow or to come into balance? Let me get some more. I don't know what that song's relevance is. Oh, you've been pushed to come into balance over a 6 months period, starting or ending now, or maybe you're in the middle of it, but because you are becoming one who can house a higher version of yourself. Starseed. And that has required balance. And when I say balance, I mean 0 point. I mean creating 0 point on all the programs, the limitations, the defense mechanism, the coping mechanisms that you have been living under, the fears. Create 0 point on all of those so that your awareness can expand and you can house this higher version of yourself. We got cleared, a total blank one, which is rare in this, and it means there's more to know. Apathetic. Yeah, that's the thing about coming to 0 point on everything. You fear that you will become apathetic because it's like, well, I'm not feeling this way. I don't prefer that. But I think that would indicate there is something else there to clear. So then we got avoidance and deception. Lady, won't you take it easy? We'll get to the bottom of this message. There's some tension. You're walking through the dark in something that's requiring your courage. It's saying relax and revisit. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, let's get to the bottom of this. Avoidance, deception, relax, revisit, right? So it's like you've cleared a bunch. This is going to require more of your courage, which you have exhibited that you have. But instead of, you might feel a little bit apathetic about what they're asking you to look at. Because it's an unknown right now, right? And you're gonna have to go against the grain and go into the tension in order to look at this. But it's kind of like you don't even see the tension. So it's so fruitful on the other side. That's why it's being looked at. Now, what this has to do with sovereignty, let's see. Well, I mean, you're becoming sovereign more and more all the time. This is just like the next thing, I think, is saying. Like, oh, there is something here where I can't quite get words around it yet. It's like you are becoming sovereign on this particular thing, which is so easy to avoid because there's not a lot of indication, feeling about it. It's in the past. You're in a good place, so there's nothing like hurting you or presenting or showing up in your reality that ties to it. Let's see. Emergency rooms. Visiting is usually a pain. And then Black Widow. Natasha Romanoff was a super spy who defected to the US and eventually became an Avenger. There's something about unseen here. I wonder why emergency rooms is here. It was like in the chaos of handling whatever you handled in the past. This detail went unnoticed, and it's meant to be understood and noticed by you. Jafar, an evil grand vizier who wishes to become the world's most powerful sorcerer. Okay, now I need to ask to clarify some of these things. Let's see. What needs to be revisited? A race. Lightning McQueen, Chick Hicks, and the King burn rubber to be named Piston Cup champion. Remember the song lyrics were like, "Whoa, lady, won't you take it easy?" It's like, was someone trying to make you slow down so that they could like win the race or something? Why is emergency room here? Under the sea, where everyone just floats through life. Maybe this is where you're more inclined to look. It's like, okay, let's see. Let's see what else. And I think there's a reason why I can't see this message so clearly. Because that's what it feels like, right? It feels foggy. It feels like, why would I look here? There's a bunch of fog and I don't even know what I'm looking for. Prison. The Kian is an intergalactic prison for the most dangerous criminals in the universe. Most inmates don't survive 3 years. I asked, why is emergency room here? And it's like these two contrasts. It's like you can't even be there more than 3 years or you will not survive. And there's this like contrast of like the place where everyone wants to be. This is very interesting. When Hecate goes down into the underworld, she's the guide down into the underworld, and she holds that torch. I got the vision of like you being in the underworld. Oh, I saw it in one of Grimm's fairy tales. You being in the underworld and it having like a facade over it where it doesn't look dangerous. It doesn't look scary. It looks magical and beautiful in the place where you'd want to be. 180 days. You have 6 months to get out of here. Okay, let me look at this again. What is the deception? What is the deception? Like, I'm not trying to scare you, I just want you to know, okay? Magic wands, they make wishes come true. What is the deception? That there's a wish that will come true. And what is the truth? I mean, like, this is coming. What's coming to mind is a situation I had been in the past where hope, just hope, which is a beautiful thing when you don't have any and you need it. But faith is higher than hope. Faith is where you want to kind of rest yourself. If you're still in hope, it's probably because you really needed it, but it's not, it's going to limit you eventually, right? Because if you hope for something, all you could ever do is line up with hoping for it. You can't line up with it. And in the case of, like, say, relationships with empath and narcissist kind of dynamics, hope can be used as the thing that keeps you there perpetually. Hope can be used against you in that way, and like as this little invisible hook. Because as long as you're hoping for it to be different, it doesn't actually ever have to be different. And when it comes to those narcissistic dynamics in relationship, they are energy vampires. And they will suck the life out of you. And you will lose your own bodily vitality in your body. And your body will start breaking down if you are in a relationship with people who are energy vampires. And you're not replenishing your own cup, especially, which you won't be because you'll be too focused on them. That's how they energy vampire you, hoping for that, waiting for that, hoping for that. And it's like, that's the prison, right? The prison is hope. And you are depleting your resources. No one can live past 3 years in that, right? When you see people who have been in abusive relationships long term, they look very worn out. They've lost their vitality. They are losing teeth. They are, their skin's not good. They've lost their glow, because they are basically serving as a host to a parasite. Okay, interesting. Who might be competing with them in this case? What's the truth? Let's see, what's the truth? Now, maybe you already know this, right? Like maybe, like me, this is in the past for you. There's something here that wants to be revisited, though, so we will get to that. But first, let me just confirm that I'm on the right track by asking, what's the truth? The truth. The beach. I think I got sand in my shorts. I mean, normally I love the beach, and I would say, yay, the beach. But he's talking about the negative part of the beach, right? He's saying, I think I got sand in my shorts. It's kind of uncomfortable, especially sand between your butt cheeks walking. I can only imagine, because I've never let that happen to me, but like, I'm conscious of that with my granddaughter who's a toddler, right? Like, I make sure that she's not uncomfortable in those ways. The truth. Just one more on the truth. The truth is, it's something about it isn't right. Something about it isn't comfortable. That's the truth. Let's see. What is the truth? Too many cards, or should I take them? The truth. Black Panther. With superhuman abilities, genius-level intellect, and a protective vibranium suit, King T'Challa protects the kingdom of Wakanda. What is the truth? One small step for whoa, space. Nick Fury. War hero, super spy, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., kept young by the mysterious infinity formula. He's seen a lot of action on many fronts. The truth is, there's a player here who is keeping something alive here with a possibility. I mean, like, for me, it's in the past, so I don't even know why I would ever revisit something like that. And that might be what you feel too, if I'm talking about this, right? Like, yes, when I was in that situation, just like this says, like, I learned a lot. Like, I would never trade having been in that situation, because, I don't know, there's just so much fruit from it. I got to see my own weaknesses. I got to kind of play in that energy with that person without ever having to really, like, be affected, because, like, it's like, it's just kind of like their energy is like in and out. But only in retrospect, right? That wasn't my thought at the time. But in retrospect, I'm like, oh, one of the bonuses is I got to experience that without even really having to be tied to it, right? I didn't get married. I didn't stay in it. That was me, like, getting the gold from it after I reaped all the reward of my shadow work, right? Like, seeing why I was susceptible, understanding how hope could keep me tied to it, understanding where the weaknesses in me stemmed from my early childhood, on what my father was like, and why this kind of situation would have been appealing to me, and things like that. So, despite having gotten through this, been done with this, there still seems to be something pressing that needs to be revisited. So let's ask that. Why are we... I kind of want to ask these round cards, but I'll also get some from this in a minute. Why are we revisiting this? Why would pick 2 revisit this? deception, which is a weird reason since that's what we're asking about, why we're in the lack mindset. Just I get one more. Is there one more belief that's not cleaned up about it? Oh, you know what I just heard? It's the belief that it would eliminate them from existing in that state in your life. It's like yesterday. I was on Facebook now. I'm subscribed to a page that's called ISIS, just because I identify with ISIS energy. And this is just a private person who posts memes, sometimes having to do with ISIS, sometimes not. Sometimes just random spiritual stuff. And I often see an opposite view of some of the things she posts. And I'll share that view. And she is fine with that. And is fine with that. So she's able to expand her awareness or see the other side of it. But what she posted recently was like that people who are aware with expanded awareness and spiritual knowledge and wisdoms are never accepted by the masses. And I commented that actually the opposite view is just as possible. And the reason I said that is because ISIS is a prime example of that. ISIS was worshipped by the masses for a long time because of her views and wisdom and healing mindset. And so if we live under the belief that the masses would never adopt that kind of view, then that's the life we're going to live, right? I mean, I hesitate to say this because maybe there's just so much doubt in me right now that doesn't want to let go of the awareness of it, but I'm still going to say it. Okay. That's just me, my own private stuff that I'm going to have to work through with this. I'm just going to deliver the messages as it's coming through. And that is that the same way that ISIS was worshipped by the masses, contrary to what the meme was saying, you could live free of the worry, the idea that people like this could be, that you could be susceptible to being a host to vampires like this. If you stop allowing it in your life. So both things are true, right? With the ISIS example, both things are true. It's true that the masses could reject it, and it's true that the masses could latch onto it. And with this, both things are true. It's true that you could attract deceptive people, and it's true that you could not attract deceptive people. Both things are true. So what it is, right, according to the Hermetic principles, both things are true, both things are true. Which do you want to live under? Okay. Let's go from there. Why? I'm going to ask the other cards now. Oh, I was going to get one more from this deck. Why does this need to be revisited? Now it is saying relax, so it's not wanting to put anyone in a panicked state where they feel like time's running out or, right, there is a race, or it's nothing like that, okay? Because relax did come out, but it might feel like that, or something's trying to make you feel like that. Why did this need to be revisited? Why should this be revisited? Assumption. Oh. Oh. You know what I just got from that? There's been an assumption made, and it's that, you know how I got the beach card, and I was like, I would normally say the beach is great, but this is focused on the bad part of the beach, like the sand in your pants or whatever is part of the beach, whatever it said there. Let me see what it said. Sand in my shorts. Okay. And it's like, perhaps you looked at some situation from the past overall as from the lens of like, but there's sand in my pants, you know? When actually, maybe you were expecting and wanting a fairy tale version of an experience with a person. Let's use that example of a person, someone who you perceived as having narcissistic traits. Say you wanted to have a fairy tale version with that, but that wasn't what, that was a lie. That was just a deception that you did to yourself. Like you were trying to see it through this lens. And because the reality was breaking the lens of you deceiving yourself with the fairy tale version that you were trying to see, you kind of swung and demonized it maybe and just saw it as lacking all the good things, right? Because this is focused on the sand and the shorts at the beach. But the beach is more than just sand and shorts. The beach is also beautiful sunshine, relaxing water, meeting new people, you know. The beach is a lot of great things that could be missed if you're not focused on them. This war hero who's seen a lot of action on many fronts isn't just a player, doesn't just have a girl in every port, but has also had a lot of life experience. And maybe his girl in every port taught him something vital and important to what it takes to be in a relationship that would be right for him. Maybe. And we've got space here. One small step for whoa. Instead of taking small steps, maybe you just kind of wanted it all in that fairy tale version when there was a lot of other things, right? Like I said, I healed a bunch of things. Well, were they healed fully if I didn't come around to the idea that it was all perfect, that person hadn't done anything wrong necessarily, right? Right? Like, because I didn't deal with anyone who was like, you know, coming to my house, tying me down and holding a knife to me or anything like that, you know? And if you did, then, you know, this might not be the pile or situation. You make it fit how it works for you. And then with superhuman abilities, genuine level, genius level intellect, and a protective vibranium suit protects the kingdom. Okay, so what if the kingdom of that narcissist is their own self, and they were just in a protective stance, and everything they did wasn't necessarily to hurt you, but was to protect themselves, right? So we know that people who are suffering or are making people suffer with the use of their narcissistic traits are actually just dealing with trauma. So you may make an assumption that someone is trying to hurt you or can never live up to the fairy tale version. But in fact, that assumption is of a lack mindset, and it's you deceiving yourself. Whoa. That kind of hit me in the face a little. Because when we look at starseed, okay, starseed is an embodiment of a much higher version of self. And everybody has this available to them if they're open to the process, right? Maybe some people didn't come for that, and they won't open themselves to the process because they didn't come here for that. But that, like everyone who's here on Earth, even so-called narcissists, are here from a version of themselves outside of Earth, right? They're still that version of themselves. So maybe they're not acting in it, maybe they're not being in it, but the truth is that somewhere they are that version, right? So both things are true. This person is not the fairy tale version that you had hoped, and this person, at some version of them, is more like that fairy tale version, right? And this person is acting in a way that seems to siphon your energy, but at the same time, what's siphoning your energy is your inability to tend to your own cup and to keep focusing on them and wishing they were different and wondering why they weren't that fairy tale, and keep putting your focus outside of yourself. That's where you're losing your sovereignty. Because your sovereignty says, I will tend to myself. I will not look outside myself for whatever first. I will look within first. So that means to keep looking outside of self and expecting this person to be the fantasy for you created that little like prison and drain on your own energy. It's like you undid the plug for the siphon to begin. And yeah, maybe they had codependent traits on an earth level that fed that cycle, right? I'm going to see what this deck has to say about why does it need to be revisited. The relax is right under the erase card, so I kind of feel like it's saying you think you have to rush towards this and figure this out. Just relax, over time you're going to figure this out. I mean, I kind of see the other view of that emergency room and poison. I feel like that's all part of the facade, though. I'll confirm. Revisit an office. Get to work. What? Why does this need to be revisited? I did say there may be more shadow work to do on this. It's like coming full circle from this, maybe coming to the place where you hold space. Not that you stay in that person's life or you let them be in the same role that they were in your life or whatever, but that you come to the point where you hold space, that there is that possibility that they come into their own being sovereign and not whatever they were doing to disappoint you or siphon energy off of you. Whatever game they were engaging in, right? Why does this need to be revisited? Why should this be revisited? I kind of feel like splitting the deck and shuffling it. Oh, this one popped out. Okay. Trickster energy. Trick or treating. Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. Why does this need to be revisited? There's a trickster. There's still a confusion. Something that's not been understood. So being okay with the unknown, we had unknown here. Being okay with the unknown does not complete this for you. Okay? Oh, okay. Okay. I got the message earlier. Now, this was just me in my own whatevers, right? And I asked Spirit, like, Why is it okay for me to not know some things and understand some things? Like, I listen to my intuition, I act on it, and I never understand why I had to do that. I just know that I had to because my intuition told me, right? But on other things, I'm pushed to look at and understand it. And it's like, no, keep looking at that until you understand it. Keep looking at that. Keep looking at that. Here's a new piece of information. Look at that with this and see if you understand it now. Look at it from a different view. All right, you're getting yourself in a knot. Leave it alone for a while, you know? And I asked, like, why? Why do some things okay not to understand it and some things have to be understood? And the answer I got was that it has to do with my soul's plan. And we've got starseed here, and that's your soul, right? So it's like my soul's plan, your soul's plan is to understand a certain part of this that hasn't quite been understood yet. That's why it's not enough to just be okay with the unknown on this. Ariel, she did that sacrifice. An adventurous mermaid who gives up her voice to become human. A real fish out of water story. Why does this need to be revisited? Because you gave something up. Oh. She gave something up. And you know how Ariel got tricked? And we got that trickster energy. Ariel got tricked because she traded Ursula took her voice or something, right? Yeah. In some sort of deal, Ursula got her voice. She was tricked. Babysitting. Trust me, I'm good with kids. And it's like, look at this babysitter. Anyone who has to tell you to trust them and why, trustworthy people, I mean, trustworthy people don't tell you they're trustworthy. Intelligent people don't tell you they're intelligent. Funny people don't tell you they're funny. You just see it. You know it. You experience it through them, right? And because it's a baby, there's some sort of innocence, maybe. You left behind your innocence? I don't know exactly. Let's see. But if you know that resonates for you, you can take that. Why does this need to be revisited? Buzz Lightyear. A toy spaceman. We got space. Who believes he's a real space ranger of the Intergalactic Alliance to infinity and beyond. Grumpy. Grouchy dwarf who gradually accepts Snow White and rushes to her aid when she's in danger. I mean, when I read the Buzzier one, and he was like, you know, he believes he's the whatever. There was part of me that almost wanted to say, like, oh, all this spiritual stuff, it's not real, we're just making it up anyway, why don't we just stop living in this delusion? But even like the part, like, wanting to say that, to me it was just like, that's so weird, that because I know that it's true. I've had experiences. I have played with magic. I very well have experienced enough in this life that was not delusion, that was real experience, to be convinced of the validity of spirituality, you know? So it was some of your magic. Left some of your magic behind. So Grumpy is not convinced at first, but then he comes to her aid after getting to know her, earning her trust. And Buzz Lightyear thinks he's a superhero. Why does this need to be revisited? Obviously, I'm needing to dig in this. I know we've been at this for a while, but I just gotta keep digging because I'm so curious about it right now. And I feel like little pieces are becoming more and more clear, but I mean, when I'm saying all this, I'm suspecting, like, is this just a rabbit hole? But there is a lot of unknown here that we're navigating. We've got Hecate. She helps us navigate that unknown. We have uncovered that there is a reason that we can't just leave it unknown. Okay. And then there's this whole other thing I want to look at in a minute after we get to the bottom of this part. Why does this need to be revisited? Fairy godmothers. One of them turns Cinderella into a princess until midnight so she can win the heart of the prince. Ariel went and won over the prince there. Grumpy was won over. The godmother turned her into Cinderella into a princess so she could win over. One more time. I don't know if I'm going to get to the bottom of this, but we're going to be okay either way. I'm just trying to let my mind open to it and let my heart open so I can hear this. There's something that's been overlooked, and it's an experience that you literally came to have. Cupido. It's love. So that you can make a choice. There's a choice for you to make, and it wants you to revisit this so that when you make the choice, that you know all the information you need. Possibility and destiny. That's why this needs to be revisited. Sorry, I'm getting a little stressed out. I'm going to have to like let that go for a minute, right? There's some sort of essence of innocence and something that was sacrificed and some possibility, okay? But I want to go back over here and look at emergency room, prison, and under the sea. And because I asked, why is emergency here? And then we got under the sea, and then we got prison. So these like two possibilities. And I'm just going to ask the cards, why is emergency rooms here again? Alloyed Blaster. Star-Lord's weapon of choice. This metapistol projects one of the four elements, earth, air, fire, or water. It's elementary. Only air is represented there with the emergency. Only air. Earth, you could consider prison earth, but I think it's more like prison of the mind. So I'm going to say it's air, just like the fantasy. During World War II, a super soldier serum granted Steve Rogers incredible strength and durability. The patriotism was already his. Blowing up a planet. It's the end of the world, literally. It's the end of the fantasy world. It's the end of the fantasy world. The fantasy has been shattered. When we talk about empath narcissist dynamics, the thing that keeps those two in relationship with each other is a shared fantasy. There's been a shared fantasy shattered, and it's asking you to revisit the situation, to look for what you left behind, what you gave away, what you had robbed from you. You know how there was all these instances of someone being won over? Like, what if you stayed in the situation thinking you were gonna win someone over, right? Like, if I were to think about my dad and, like, him being, whatever, grumpy, not very emotionally available and stuff like that, part of me wanted him to be, and wanted to be the one who inspired him to be emotionally open, right? Like, and hope could keep me in that. And what would I have traded for that? What would I have given up? What did I leave behind in the situation? I want to say innocence, but like, we do lose our innocence when we mature, so I'm not sure how you would go back and get your innocence, except maybe there's a soul retrieval needed for that part of you. Flying, oh my gosh, a Peter Pan card came out next. All you need is pixie dust and happy thoughts. It's a soul retrieval. There's a soul retrieval needed because you don't have the feelings associated with it, right? You've changed your mindset enough and adapted enough that it's you're no longer able to access the feelings of pain and fear and disappointment of not having a parent over, if that was, an example that resonates for you, or whatever caused this kind of weakness or susceptibility to being in relationship in a shared fantasy space with someone who you were left wanting more from. And because you can't access the feelings of that situation anymore, perhaps it's kind of like do a soul retrieval. So like go into a meditation, connect to heaven and earth, and expand your heart, and then go into the memory of either a time that you can remember, or if you can remember the childhood memory of wanting father to come around, if that was the example that resonated with you. But like, even in just like this situation here that it's referencing, it's like, go to the version of you that wanted to win them over. That innocent part of you that just wanted them to finally see, or whatever, you know what I mean? And give that part of you what you needed in that situation. What did you need in that situation? Like, maybe I needed my mom to kind of come by and say, hey, no matter what you do, that's how dad is. Okay, you can't change his mind. He's very, very stubborn. He's very stuck in his ways. And he doesn't take direction from other people. So it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel disappointed. And I just want to let you know that you don't have to keep waiting for him to change, because it's just more like accept how he is. Accept that this is how he is. And that he could change someday, but you don't have to wait for it. You don't have to like expect it. You can just, know that it could be if he decides to go down that road. And that would be up to him. And it would have nothing to do with your worth either way, ever. And like Grumpy, like she didn't change in order for Grumpy to come around and decide that she was valuable, right? Her value stayed the same the whole time. It was Grumpy that changed. He allowed himself to see. So it's like letting that child version of me off the hook, right? So then I would just ask that child version of me in the memory, like, do you want to come with me? Because like, now we don't have to worry about our worth or needing attention in this way. And we have a really good life. It's like soul retrieval, like retrieve that part of you that's stuck in that scene. Just holding on to that piece of her innocence. In my case, her. In your case, whatever version of you. Holding on to that piece of your innocence, and it's like retrieving that part of you. So, in so doing, I think maturing that part of you. Maturing that part of you so that you can be sovereign, because that part of you, even though the rest of you is all on board with taking care of you, you've learned your lessons, you're not going to settle for less, you know that, but there's still that little anchor of an energetic kind of hook holding on to innocence in your past, and she just needs to know it's okay to come with you so that she can trust you to make all the decisions that you make, to have her back too. Because the safest place for her is to hold on to the hope that, in my example, that my dad will realize that I'm worthwhile, and that he could just not be grumpy and he could play with me. Or he could just not yell at me and we could do something fun. Yeah, it's really so I think because I could relate to this one so much, it was very hard for me to extract this information. So if you stuck around for it and it was helpful for you too, wonderful. If you just stuck around because you were wondering if I'd ever get to the bottom of the message, I did. I did, and I'm glad I did. All right, so that is your message, and I'm going to move on to pick number 3, pressure. Okay, pick number 3. I'm just going to take a moment, clean up the cards on my desk, and I'll be right back. Okay, pick 3. Open to possibility. Final cycle. 180 days and make a choice, which also came out in the last pile, so that's interesting. It was a really long, drawn-out message that I had a challenge with extracting. So this could be like the next step after that, you know? If you were called to that, feel free to take a look, but if you were not, then don't bother. Let's see. Node reversal. Seeing something from another side. Revisit and mine for gold. Interesting. We had a similar theme with pick number 2. Really thought we got to the bottom of it. Not sure why we're looking at that topic again. Soul plan. Humiliation. And ascendant, how you're seen. Philia, brotherhood, brotherly love, and honor. Okay, so I kind of want to say in longing. I would say, like, maybe you feel humiliated by something you wanted and a choice you made 6 months ago, you know. Or this could say that you are being asked to make a decision within in 6 months, but something's over or you're in the final cycle of it, but there's some gold to be taken from the situation. Brotherly love could be involved here. Take that for whatever it means to you when I say it. Really, you know, this kind of love is the basis for any good relationship, but it can also be brothers, friends, or 2 men in relationship. Open to possibility. Node reversal and ascendant. Now we got love. And it's coming right under brotherly love. So then we got Niobe, which talks about pride and the projection of humiliation. The projection of both humiliation and longing. Okay, what is this? Have you allowed yourself to feel humiliated? Have you allowed yourself to feel longing and be present with those feelings, right? So there's a humiliating situation that your soul wanted to experience, and that there you may be able to feel the feeling, like be present with the feeling of being humiliated, and then look at it again, and then you see another side of it. Okay? Your avoidance of feeling humiliated which you may be doing by projecting it onto someone else, assuming that they feel humiliated or they should be humiliated. Actually take it within yourself, and then once you feel it, you'll be able to see a bigger picture view about it, okay? And then when it comes to the projection of longing, you're being asked to honor the longing within yourself as well. And understand that you may have had a target for your longing, but that the longing actually likely had more to do with your longing for just a camaraderie, brotherly love, like true friendship love. Like, even if it was in a relationship, it would be the basis of a good relationship, right? Like you're not just like passionate lovers in a good relationship that has a solid foundation. You're also friends. Like, you also care about each other and want to spend time together. Well, I'm trying to separate two things here. Hold on. There may be a situation where you have shunned someone, or you feel shunned by someone that you love, and that maybe there's just pride keeping you apart. Ooh, you may be put in a situation where pride is keeping you apart from someone that you love. Oh my goodness. So I just had a note in my journal about pride. People who have pride, I was just realizing how they're not trustworthy. I know that it's very, very common for pride to be in our culture. Look, I know that I'm against the grain here, okay? But I'm proud of you, or I'm proud of myself, or taking pride. I understand its value. I understand that it's just a step in a ladder that I would never want to stay on, that rung of the ladder. I would rather honor myself and the other, because it's not just my successes that matter in this journey, it's also my humiliations and my longings and my mistakes and my missteps. Oh, I just flung that card. And it was the prison card. So it's not just what you value in me that matters. It's all of it needs to be honored. Like someone who like like I would only trust someone who honored me, not someone who was proud of me. And I'm saying this knowing that this is a common statement that parents do to their children all the time, and that even spiritually minded readers I see on YouTube doing high level, high vibrational readings are using the word pride. And I'm just like, nah, nah. Because it's a limitation. To me, all I see it as is a limitation. I don't just see it as a limitation. I see the value in it. I see why some people would strive for having pride. But I just feel like if you let it become something that you're always striving for, that's like the goal, that you end up shunning. Oh, interesting. We got that word shunned. You end up shunning a bunch of parts of yourself that failed, that tried and didn't get to where they wanted to go, that needed to experience failure and mistakes. And one of the things that you may be limiting yourself in around that is how you're seeing, only allowing yourself to be seen using pride to limit how you are seen, meaning trying to let people only see certain parts of you. So, I mean, a short way to say that would be wearing a mask, right? But you have shunned certain parts of you. This is why you're lacking sovereignty. You're lacking sovereignty because you are trying to be seen in a certain light. You're not allowing certain parts of you to be seen. You're not honoring certain parts of you. That means you're not loving certain parts of you, and you've deemed certain parts of you unacceptable. So this means that you're looking outside of yourself in order to make certain decisions or give yourself what you need in some cases, which in some cases is just honoring yourself and your process and the fact that you might have to try and try again. That before you got to the final result, that you tried a lot and failed. Because that's all part of it. That those aren't humiliating moments for you. That those were vital steps along the process. And that had you not come into those moments where it was hard or where you didn't succeed the way you wanted to or didn't turn out the way you expected, those were just as important as the moment that you succeeded or the moment that you decided to turn into a different direction because of what you experienced. Like, the whole soul plan is to be honored, not just the parts that you think are pretty or acceptable to other people. If you're not allowing yourself to feel humiliated, it's because somebody said that you should be humiliated when something doesn't go right. But if you let yourself feel this so-called humiliation that they pinned on you and that you gave value to because you started to try to avoid it, after you let yourself feel it and you're the one who loves yourself even though there was humiliation, now you're not going to be susceptible to that going forward. Now, until you resolve these things, there's going to be a lot of pressure on you, and pressure reveals the truth. So if you feel like you keep messing up publicly and you feel humiliated, it's because you're supposed to feel humiliated, because you're supposed to be the one who loves yourself even though you feel humiliated, and then you'll realize that it's actually not something to be humiliated about. But don't skip to that part. Actually be present with the feelings. And the reason why you would ascribe to this idea of being humiliated when you didn't succeed the way you wanted to is because you were longing for the acceptance and the love of others, right? So you have to fill up your own cup. Where you're longing, give yourself the recognition, give yourself the time, give yourself the presence, the attention. Go out and spend time with friends, but not because you need them to validate you. Do it having already validated yourself. Allow yourself to be seen authentically. And if somebody likes you, but it's just the version of you that you've edited to allow them to see, then you don't really feel like they like you because there's lots of parts of you that they haven't even seen. So you don't think that they would like those because that's why you're hiding them. So let yourself be fully seen so that when someone does love you, they actually love you. They love all of you. And that you're allowed to be who you are. You don't have to be some cookie cutter thing that you pretended to be or that you thought was preferable. Because that is a prison. And it will get you sick. Especially at this stage in our journey of evolution. That we're at a part of our journey where it is vital to be authentic and to be sovereign and to own and love all the parts of ourselves. So say you thought it was important for, other people to value you and to see you in a certain light. Love the part of you who thought that. Oh, that was silly. I can understand wanting to fit in. Well, that's all right. Forgive and love the parts of you that decided it was okay to shun other parts of you. And then love the parts of you that were shunned. And it's like, it's a matter of honoring all the parts of you. And making the choice to not keep going in another cycle of pretending to be something that you're not. Open yourself to the possibility of being authentic and of being accepted the way you are. And that will only come when you have accepted you the way you are. You will line up with people who match you. So if you go around not accepting parts of yourself, then you're going to come in contact with people who don't accept parts of you. If you accept all the parts of yourself that you learn about, then you will line up with other people who will also accept the parts of you. You see? We attract what we are. We vibrate with what we are. We're going to be shown in life what we are. And if you were avoiding trying to be humiliated, then you might not even put effort into something that was really, really, really important to your soul plan. And this wants you to be free to make the choice to pursue that thing. And you might even be longing for it. Yeah. Wow. Very interesting. Pick 3. And it wasn't necessarily tied to pick 2 at all, but an equally powerful, meaningful reflection, I would say. So remember, it is just information to reflect on, and that is your message. See you in the next one.